welcome to another Ronel Talks Money show. Today we are going to do another book review, and this book has a very interesting title. I immediately thought I have to read this one, and the title is How to Make More Money with Your Business. And who wouldn't want to do that? Now, we are fortunate to have the author with us today, and I just quickly want to introduce her. So, Corinne de Villiers is a qualified accountant who has been working with entrepreneurs since 2003, helping them with their accounting and finance needs and assisting them with outsourced financial management services. She is the CEO of Bizzacc, which is a medium-sized accounting firm that assists small to medium-sized businesses. So, Corinne, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for getting me on the show or inviting me on the show. I'm so excited.
Okay, yes, we're looking forward to hear all of your little nuggets of wisdom. How can we make more money with our businesses? But I think before we get into that, you can maybe just tell us a little bit more about yourself and also about Bizzacc. What exactly do you do?
Oh, thank you. Yes. So I'm an accountant, as Ronel said, and I was originally a musician. A lot of people don't know that. And then I thought I would start studying accounting to make money so that I can fund my music career. And then I fell in love with accounting, and I don't necessarily, later on in life, I realized it wasn't necessarily accounting, but it was working with entrepreneurs. I don't know. Entrepreneurs are amazing people that go and have this idea and there's nothing, and then they start doing things, and 3 years later you see buckies on the road and signage. And so I love that whole process where individuals can do that and, create employment and all the things that comes with that. So when I studied, I was working with all these entrepreneurs, and I also found that my creative side could help me in finance because, you can sort of use the law and be creative with tax in a legal way. So I quickly found that just by applying a bit of a creative side to the accounting, I could help these entrepreneurs and, save them some tax money as well. So that's how I came into accounting. It was by default, really never planned. I was an artist all my life, and I thought I was going to be on stage and in movies and whatnot. And so, now it's a completely different stage. Yeah.
Definitely an interesting journey. But then, and I think you should just, when you respond to this question, just show us your book as well. But why did you write this book specifically?
Okay, so this is the it is available on Amazon, and you can get it from me as well. How to Make More Money with Your Business. So while working with entrepreneurs, I found that 90% of them, or even more, maybe 95% of them, were really living hand to mouth all the years. It's okay if you start a business to live hand to mouth, because that's how you have to live. You have to cut out all expenses and just survive. But they sometimes get stuck in that space where they get to a space where they can cover their salary that they had or relatively close to, and they never, ever move beyond that. And every time a big expense comes along, either VAT or tax or, some crisis in the business, they're in trouble. And that's why I wrote the book, because I found in my business, I went the same journey. Being an accountant, I was quite shocked that I could also find myself in financial dire. And then I found some coaches to help me with, put my business in place and actually put my finances, get systems for my own finances. And that was a valuable lesson that I learned. And I found that if accountants can make that mistake, how much easier is it not for someone that's not in finance? So this is for non-finance people. Just a couple of simple tools that you can apply in your business to help you have better financial discipline. And I think that's really the core what it is about, financial discipline, because without financial discipline, you are always going to have a hand-to-mouth business. And by just changing a few small things, you can turn it into a business that ultimately makes money and more money, and that can grow. Yeah. So that's why.
I think to touch on that, we often hear, the billionaires out there in the world. A lot of them own businesses, and some of them multiple businesses. But then there is this kind of, a big world of entrepreneurs who are really struggling. But there is also this kind of thinking or belief or philosophy that when you are in a more like an employed environment, you obviously have limits in terms of earning a salary. So you can kind of like enrich a ceiling. But for you to really kind of go beyond that ceiling, you need to go start a business, and that is how you can make more money. So would you say that by starting a business, you can create more wealth for yourself?
Most definitely, because even if you are an investor and you go and look at investment opportunities, your best investment opportunities are small businesses that's going to grow fast, because any small business will start at zero and go even to 100% return on investment within 2 or 3 years. However, if you are not going to be doing all the things that you need to do to run a good business, you could find yourself in a position where you lose all your money and you walk away with nothing. So it's a big risk to take, but I definitely think, and I mean, my follow-up book is on making money, is that all the money-making strategies out there, your best money-making strategy is business, for sure. I mean, think about it even a step further, which a lot of business owners don't want to think about, is to say, well, if I sell this business 3 years down the line, I could make even a decent lump sum. So this could sustain me for 3 years. I could put some money aside, and if I run it really well, I tick all the boxes that's required, I can get a decent lump sum from this business and start another business, or, have two at any given point in time. But yeah, you have to make sure that you get help, get a coach, get an accountant, get even a psychologist, because there's some trauma involved in running a business as well, I'm sure you know. I think most entrepreneurs suffer from some form of post-traumatic stress disorder. So you do need advisors and help. But yes, for sure, I think for money making, your best return on investment is small business that grows.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think if you just compare it to any other type of investment out there and the more traditional type of investments, you can definitely earn a lot of money. And even if it's not, kind of starting a business, but at least investing in businesses and even small businesses, it can make a huge difference. But Corin, you obviously now work a lot with entrepreneurs, and you mentioned about some of the mistakes they make. But what would you say, in your experience, what are the biggest money mistakes that entrepreneurs make?
Definitely poor financial discipline, unfortunately. And it's so strange, because discipline is something that you can learn. It's a skill. It's not a gift or a talent. Some people might be prone to be more self-disciplined. It's not managing your money. It's not knowing what's coming in and what's going out. And I love it when my entrepreneurs go, well, there's money in my bank, so it's going well. Or there's no money in my bank, so I'm not making money. And both are mistakes. You could have money in your bank and actually be en route to bankruptcy, and you can have no money in your bank and still have a profitable going concern. So that's the worst place to judge it. You have to, and managing your own books is not that difficult. You know, when you think of an accounting profession, that person has to run a whole bunch of people's books, so they've got to have all kinds of knowledge. But you just have to understand your own industry, what your margins should be looking like. You know, if it's a retail business, what's your markups? What's the market related markups? What should your profitability be? And actually just check, am I on par? You know, have a little spreadsheet that you keep track of things, sales. I had a client, and I was so surprised when I sat with him and he said, oh my word, my turnover's been declining for this entire year, like 12 months now. He's had a decline. You're not going to see it if you're doing 300,000-400,000 rands revenues, because it comes and goes and it's in and out. And if you actually track it, I mean, this guy, you would have seen by month 3, I have to do something about this. But 12 months of declining turnover, it's scary. And, you know, you're going to not remember whether last year was a good year or not. People forget. I mean, you ask an entrepreneur, what did you spend this 5,000 Rand on 3 weeks ago? And he's like, oh, can't remember. What was it? You know, I said, what was it? So we forget. So it's so important that you just, you know, track your money. You have to know what you're spending money on and where it's coming from and when it's going to be in your bank. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I think there is definitely with entrepreneurs specifically that kind of lack of knowledge, and people are just not closely involved, or they you know, they outsource it to an accountant and then they believe that's the accountant's problem, so I never need to look at my numbers. So I think to kind of link to that, would you say that entrepreneurs, do they actually know how much money they do make?
Most of them don't. Even how much money they take out of the business. They will say, yeah, it's about 30 or 40. Then they start adding it up, and school fees and the house and the car is already close to 30. And they just don't take into account groceries, or, you know, they just have no idea. They have no idea how much they earn personally or how much the business is making and how much profits there is. No idea. I would say 95% of businesses have a rough, vague idea of what they think they are making. Yeah, it's completely warped. Yeah.
No, and I think that that is actually sad, because sometimes, you know, if you can just equip yourself with that knowledge, I mean, you can make much better decisions, and you can make decisions kind of much earlier on in the process, which can definitely, you know, kind of help you to not face certain challenges because you've identified it a lot earlier. But I think
absolutely
also this whole kind of mindset, if you can call it that, it does talk to kind of like in this psychology behind making money. And you are also talking about this in your book. So maybe you can just elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, I think there's two things at play. The one is how we don't think about money. Maybe not even just a South African thing, but maybe it comes from the era that our parents came from, the World War IIs and all the difficulties that they faced, that we kind of believe that, you know, money is evil, money is bad. I can't talk about money. I can't talk about my money problems. Nobody ever does that. Talk about money or talk about their money problems. And then on the other side, you have entrepreneurs, and a lot of them, I think, have a personality trait that borders on like a racketeer, a person who just goes out and does things. And, you know, you kind of have someone running behind picking up the pieces all the time. So you have these two kind of people that are in business. The one that just believes, you know, I'm happy with my 10,000 Rand a month and I don't need more, and this is my little space that I'm in. And the other side, you have this person who goes, well, I'm going to change the world. You know, and he just doesn't ever look back on you know, is my systems in place, is things going the right way. is there actually money to be doing all of these things? Yeah. So I think and you should identify where you find yourself. You should say, which personality am I? Biggest thing is find out who you are and what are your pitfalls. I'm one of those. I would just go out and do crazy things. And I've actually learned to say that is dangerous. I need help. I need a coach to check in with every 2 weeks and say, Corin, are you doing crazy things? Are you still on track? Because otherwise we go off the rails and we spend money where we shouldn't. Yeah.
No, I think I totally agree with you. And people just don't talk about money, and people just don't want to talk about money. And I think if you always think about it, what I always say in my training sessions is that you will much rather see somebody on Facebook or wherever admitting, I have 10 kilograms that I want to lose, but they would never say, I actually need 10,000 Rand to get through this month. So there's unfortunately a lot of pretension and perception and all of these things involved when it gets to money, which is actually quite sad. But then you also talk in your book about the 5 basic strategies to turn your business into a cash generating unit. And I think that is something that, if you think about what happened during this lockdown period, it really emphasized how important is cash flow. And I think you've mentioned a little bit about it earlier, but maybe you can also just share with us kind of how important is cash flow in your business. And then again, like you said earlier, what your bank balance doesn't equal your cash flow. So maybe
Yes.
just share with us a little bit more about your strategies there.
Perfect. We'll do so. So, of course, initially you have to plan. And, people, I don't know, don't plan. It's difficult for a lot of people, I think, to plan. So get a tool. There's amazing planning tools that you can pull off the web. I've got one in my book. It's not a complicated thing to do, but you've got to know where you want to be 5 years from now. You have to have it somewhere up so that you can see it. And especially financially, like I might know that I want to have a BM and a white house with a picket fence, but what is it going to cost me? What is that BM going to cost me monthly if I pay it off? Or if I were to buy it cash, how much money would I have to have? Because that's a very different picture. You might say, oh, R1 million isn't even enough. And we have this idea that, wow, if I could just get R1 million, I can pay my debts and I'll be okay. Might not be at all. It might not be remotely close to where you want to be. So plan where you want to be and then monetize that and say, how much is this dream going to cost me? Then to put actions in place to say, well, if I have a salary and I need so much extra, should I start a little small business? If I have a business, how much does this business need to grow for me to be able to get to that lifestyle that I want? So there I have a very easy to use payment sheet with a budget to help entrepreneurs to see where am I today? Like, how much is my life costing me today? Again, we might say, I want to be there, so I need an extra 10 grand, but I'm actually not even aware of how much I'm spending today. I might realize, I'm already spending 30 and I thought I was only spending 20. So I actually need another 20 extra or what. So the payment sheet is my other tool. I give a very, very easy budget for entrepreneurs, because when I started the business and I started doing budgeting like us accountants do, you have your little sheet of all your expenses and you project it forward 3 years down the line, and you see a month later, well, that one's gone, this client came in, I'm got a new product, everything's changed. And it's like, you can't go and say, I'm going to project this new budget ahead. No one can keep track of that. So I have a very easy way to just budget for 5 years. That'll take you quick. Have to budget, have to plan, have to know where you are today. And then know where your sales are coming from. Like, where's your money going to come from? If you can't sell, you can't be in business. So you've got to find a way to get clients in. I find entrepreneurs with great products, and then they can't get it into the market. So skill yourself, upskill yourself. People often tell me that I am a great salesperson, but I actually bought tons of books on sales. Like, I didn't know how to get people in. Anyone can sell. I always tell people that back in the day, you had grain and I had chicken and we did business. Everybody did it that way. So find a way to sell. So know where your money's going to come from. Know who's the clients that's going to be done. Know your work in progress. Know the potential clients that could come on board and where you're going to find them. So that you know, this is what I need this month. These are the clients that I have. I've got enough clients and extra to make that little buffer. So, those are some of the easy things that you can do. And literally, and look at your bank balance every day and your sales and your profits. So you've got to look at those things every day. And it's silly, but it will change the way you think of your money and change the way you spend, because you're suddenly aware that I'm short, so I can't be spending. Otherwise, you would just go and do the facial or buy the shirt. Like people say, is a special really a special? No, you're still spending the money. So know what you can spend. So those are the tools. That's planning, budgeting. What are you spending today? Where's your sales going to come from? And look at the important things on a daily basis. And just quickly, a big bit for, like you said, for a lot of entrepreneurs, are cash flow and profit. So cash flow is the money I spend on VAT that I pay, on my car payment, on my friend who I borrowed money from. That money flows out again. But those are all three things that are not on my income statement. So I'll have sales and I'll have expenses. So repayments of loans and, those kinds of things are not reflected in your income statement. And that's why there can be a difference. So I can have a profit, and on the other hand, I might not have money in my bank. And then a big thing that entrepreneurs do is they think, I invested 50,000 Rand in this business, so I can pull out that 50 throughout the time. And long before they, start looking at it, they've spent that 50 and they're pulling out money out of that business way beyond that 50,000 Rand that they've invested. And that's also what happens. So there's no money, but there's profits, but it's because you're taking that money out and spending it and you're not aware of it. Yeah.
I think those are such valuable advice and something that people can just follow. And if you really listen to it, it's not complicated things. It's just that people don't do it. It's those kind of things that, we know we shouldn't eat so many sweets, but we still do. It's that kind of sometimes, and that's coming back to the psychology and the mindset and all of that. It's sometimes just that the little switch that can definitely, make your experience of your business completely different. And I think you've also now, you've mentioned about so many entrepreneurs who are barely surviving, and they almost just, like in live from month end to month end. And I think especially now with what happened with so many businesses during this lockdown phase and the impact it had, you even find it's happening more often. But how would you say for people who are now having a business and they are in that situation where they are barely surviving, for you now to start really growing your business and start becoming in a situation where your business is doing well financially, how do you get from where you are to where you want to be?
It's a great question, and I agree with you. It's so relevant. the first step is to say, how much money is coming into the business and how much am I spending? You have to go and sit. And it's, if you have no accounting system or your accounting is behind, because it possibly might be, grab your bank statement and put it in Excel. It's a wonderful exercise to do, because you're going to go, I'm still paying that debit order and I should have canceled that long time ago. And what is this thing coming through every month that I don't even know about it? You are going to find a couple of those. If you just print it out and quickly in Excel say, what am I spending this month? What did I spend this month? I've not found an entrepreneur who went shocked at what they found. It's terrible. You're going to see your own spending. You're going to be shocked at your own spending. So just start there, even if it's a dire situation. Remember, if you've got a business and people are buying from you, there's no reason that the people buying from you can't increase with 10 or 20%. People are buying your product, so they can buy more of it, or the market can increase and more people can buy from you. So if you have people who are buying from you, you're already hundreds of steps ahead of someone who wants to start. Is they have to find the first person to buy from you. You have people. If you just start treating them well and ask them to refer people to you, you can grow your sales. And if you are aware of what you're spending, you can clamp down on that. And even if you're on a dire position, that means I cancel my daughter's ballet for 6 months and I cancel our Mnet subscription for 6 months just to get ahead, just to say I'm cutting my expenses with 10%, but I'm growing my revenue with 10%, and now I'm at a break even and we can all breathe. It's worth it. And you can then grow beyond that. And it's just those 2 small steps. If you were to ask me what's the most important thing, find out what are you spending and track it and try and bring it a bit down if you can and increase your revenues. But yes, can be turned around.
Oh, no, I totally agree with you. And I think it's sometimes those short-term decisions that's sometimes quite hard to make, because now you need to cut and you do not really want to cut and all of those things. But it's almost to make those short-term decisions with the longer-term view or with the future in mind, and say, okay, I might have to cut now, or I might have to struggle a bit for the next year, but it can turn my business around and it can actually turn my whole life for the better going forward. And it's sometimes just to think about it like that. And I think then also something that I've seen that you've mentioned in your book that is so critical and also one of those challenges for a lot of people is that the debate about personal finances and goals versus business finances and goals. So maybe you can also just share a bit of knowledge about that.
Yes, I love that, because young business owners, not young in age, but young in business, just find themselves so overwhelmed by their business that it's one thing. Them and their businesses are the same person. They sleep business, they wake up business, and they spend business. It's 2 different entities. It's important to know you have 2 tax numbers, you have 2 ID numbers if you've got a PTY. If you're trading as, even then, which makes it more meshy, I always suggest to people rather at some point split it so that you can have that clear split. There's the business, here am I. Because, if your business, if you work in that business day and night for 5 years and a fire came along and burnt it down and you have nothing and personally nothing, then that business didn't serve you well. However, if you took out money from that business and you bought yourself an investment property and you fixed up your house that you could sell it for more, maybe added a room or whatnot, at least when that business burns down, you can say, well, I out of that business, I got an investment property, I fixed up my house, I can sell it for more, I've got some money with Alan Gray or whatever. it's so important to understand that I am building this business for me, for myself, so that I can distance myself from that business at some point and still have money and have taken money out of it. So entrepreneurs, I mean, I worked with one guy, only one ever, that walked away from his business after 20 years, and he was way better off in his personal capacity. Like, he had made so much money out of that business, he could give it away. And he made 5 times or 8 times the value of that business, or 10 times the value of that business during the lifetime that he was in that business. And that's where you should be aiming at. You should be creating personal wealth for yourself out of that business. Yeah. Of course, just to add, the business must make its own profits, but you as an individual must gain out of it. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. And I think that also, what fits in with that is kind of like in paying yourself a salary. And again, like in be disciplined with that, because you want to gain something from it, like you said. But then there's also a lot of people who said, no, I've been doing this business for the past year or 2 years, but I've never taken out any money from it because I can just not afford it. And then there's again people who take out so much money that the business is actually not surviving. So, what would you say to entrepreneurs? When would your business be at the right time when you can say, but I can actually afford to pay myself a decent salary?
Yeah, it is absolutely what's happening. It's those two scenarios, like you've said. People take nothing or they take too much. Again, you have to say, firstly, plan, what is it that I want? I want 50,000 Rand a month. Now, what should my business generate for that business to have, let's say, a 5,000 Rand profit every month, plus pay me the 50, plus pay its costs? So you have to go and sit down and say, I'm going to reverse engineer my sales target. I'm not just going to say I need to do 100,000 Rand a month's revenues. I have to say, how much do I want to draw out of this business, plus business expenses, plus a little buffer for profit. And then I might find revenue needs to be at 150 for me to be able to take that kind of salary. And you have to do that plan, because otherwise you're going to just take money out and you find you spend tax money or VAT money or pay as you earn money, and now you don't pay SARS, or you're just going to live like a little mice and take little bits out and never ever really grow into anything. And what we also see, Ronel, which is a big problem with the people who take so little, is they come along a point and they go, oh my word, I can buy the house that I live in, and I'm so excited because I know I can afford it. And then they go to the banks, and the banks go, no, but you're not earning a proper salary. You're not earning enough to pay for this house. So having a structured salary that's the same every month has multiple benefits. The banks are not going to borrow you money, even if you can afford it. I mean, then they come to me and they go, but I can afford it. And I go, yes, I do. But it's not showing. You're buying, you're shopping out of the business, and you're buying your car out of the business, and you're doing all kinds of things. And now your salary is 10,000 Rand a month, and it's just not enough. Plus, it's coming in drips and drabs. So I would start with, what is it that I would like to earn? What are my actual costs? And then how much must my revenues be? And if my revenue is just half that, at that point you can say, well, I have to decrease my salary, but now I have to increase revenues so that I can increase my own salary. And again, I think that's the biggest discipline, is to pay yourself. You have to pay yourself on the 30th and pay your tax on the 7th if you can. That's when your business is scalable. Now you can go to all these business brokers and go, there's my business, this is what I'm earning, what can I sell it for? And people will come in and go, oh, it's a good business to buy, because that owner is, getting paid every month. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. And I think that the one thing that I see quite often with the entrepreneurs that I'm working with is that they would spend so much time, or basically all their focus and attention, about marketing and getting new business and sales, and that's almost kind of, taking up all of the focus within a business, and they spend like almost no time whatsoever on their financial management and their financial planning, which I know is, like in totally wrong. You need to spend a lot of time and attention on your financial management and your disciplines and all of that. But what would you say? How important is financial planning, and how can your business actually benefit from having proper financial planning in place?
Well, first of all, I just want to make the comment to say it's irrelevant how much you make. It's what you spend it on that counts. Is if you make R1 million a month and you spend more than R1 million a month, you are still broke. So be careful just to chase sales. That is a big, dangerous thing to do. Yes, sales are critical. No business is a business without sales. But if all your sales goes into expenses and spending, and even more of that spending happens, then you are bankrupt. In my opinion, I don't think a business could ever be successful, properly successful, and have a resale value if owners are not diligent about financial discipline. Have to have someone to help you, just like most people need someone in the gym to help them come to the gym, a gym buddy or a personal trainer. You have to have someone who will keep track of your finances on your behalf or with you, and sit with you monthly or quarterly to say, this is where you're at. But as an owner, in my opinion, if you want to be successful, even once a month is too little. You need to be spending just 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day on your finances. That, if you can do it that frequently, you'll inevitably have a successful business. It's almost inevitable that it'll happen. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And I've seen that, from personal experience in my businesses, that I've seen, certain things that I have identified and I could quickly do something about it. While if I've only, waited for an accountant to give me my quarterly results or 6 monthly, or for my financial statements, that could have ended up in a complete disaster. So kind of that value you are getting from just be, close to your finances, it is really, I cannot emphasize it enough. And I think then, almost kind of touching on it, and I want to quote from what you are saying in your book. You are saying, there is a big difference between data capturing and managing your business finances. And I cannot agree more, but maybe you can just elaborate. What exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. Entrepreneurs just bunch them together. And they go, no, I have my gran sitting in the corner. She's doing the finances. We sorted. No, you are not sorted. Unless your gran is printing you daily reports and you're looking at them, you're not doing your finances. So data capturing is simply taking all your financial transactions and putting it into a format that sorts it to say, these were all sales, these were all bank charges, and that's what it does. And it puts it in date format, and it puts it in reports that you can look at. And I always laugh because some of my, colleagues would come to me and go, oh, we've got this great program that can show you all these different reports. And I go, really doesn't matter if people don't look at those reports. And you can just look at a profit and loss and a trial balance and know where the business is at. So you don't need fancy reporting and dashboards and complex reports to be all fancy and do your financial management. So accounting is really bringing all of that into a program, and financial management is interpreting what that report is saying. And that's the very important part that entrepreneurs miss. And if you don't know how to interpret that report, ask a friend or ask a qualified person. You'll quickly learn to do it. I mean, entrepreneurs I work with 6-7 months down the line, when I come in, they're anxious or happy, and they've gone and looked at their reports before I came, and they're like, look, we're reaching our target, or, our profit's gone up, or, oh my word, we're in trouble. We're realizing now this disaster. And it's literally 6 months. I've hardly worked with an entrepreneur beyond that still had no idea how to read that report. So it's an easy report to read. It's not complex. You don't need a degree. You just have to understand your own business and your own financial report. But yeah, that's the difference. The one is bringing it all in, and the other one is interpreting what that report is saying to me. And now again, if that data capturing is completely incorrect, then my reporting is going to be incorrect and my decision making will be incorrect. So people often think, why do I need to keep it up to date? I can just do it once a month or once every 6 months or whatnot. The reason is really so that you can get those results, interpret them, and as you say, pick those disasters up long before they become major disasters. In your figures, you see a slight change happening, small, but you pick it up and you go, what's this thing? What's happening here? You go, and it's always an operational problem. It's always an operational problem. So people are so concerned with operations and doing it right, but your figures will highlight that operational problem long before you see it on the floor, long before you notice the theft or the machine that's not functioning like it should. Yeah. So that's the difference between the two. Very important.
And then there's also, I think that debate about, should you be outsourcing your accounting or doing it yourself? And I think that's quite often a difficult kind of decision to make, especially for startups who are not yet in a position who can really afford an accountant. But I mean, your finances still has to be done. So maybe you can also just share with us a little bit, how can people kind of respond to that kind of scenario?
Yes. I think doing it yourself for a little while is a wonderful experience. Even, facing SARS and going to the SARS office and seeing what that's all about and getting your e-filing up and running. It's good for entrepreneurs. I think if you want to delegate something, it's good if you know what you're delegating. I always tell people, if you've done your own accounts, even if it was horrendous, at least you know what I'm talking about. You understand just a little bit how that system works. Unfortunately, I think most people don't have the time. They run out of time, and nobody wants to at 9 o'clock at night, and you really just want to go to bed now, do data capturing. So I think that's the biggest challenge that your young entrepreneurs face, young being new in business, is you might even be able to do it, but still you find that you run out of time. So I would say as soon as you can, if you find you're not keeping it up to date, is to, outsource it, because it has to be up to date. You need it every week, especially those early days, because things happen so fast and things change so fast. And you have to know where you are right from the beginning. Programs like Sage is really easy to use. But it's still difficult if you have no financial background to find your way around those. You might find people that would be willing to help you. There is quite a few. I think even some accountants might say, okay, we'll teach you and we'll help you with your year-end stuff and your tax. But, whichever route you decide, you have to get it done from the beginning as soon as possible, even if it's in Excel. I have quite a few small businesses that keeps track of it in Excel. These are my expense sheets. These are my income sheets, and I look at it every month. So that can even be done. But I think the biggest challenge for the new entrepreneurs is time, unfortunately. So if you don't have the time, you've got to try and find. If you think about it, it's one extra sale a month, and you can pay for your accounts to be done. So maybe if you look at it that way, if selling is more your thing, then go get that extra sale and pay somebody. Yeah.
But Corin, we have talked about so many things, and I think there's been like so many good advice and lessons coming from this talk. And it's obviously things that we've just touched on, and that you talk about a lot more in your book. So people can definitely go read the book and learn a lot more about what we were sharing today. But I think the last question would be, what, if you think about your book, what would be the overall message that you want to leave the readers with reading this book?
My husband asked me the same thing, and I said to him, if I could get all entrepreneurs just to look at the important stuff every day, I'd be happy. Like if you could just log onto your bank and see what your bank balance is and see what your sales are for the day, that just that one step would make a major change in your business, because that'll be the start of your financial discipline. I think if you do that every day, inevitably the other things will fall into place over time, because you'll get to a space where you'll go, oh no, I want to do something about this scenario. If you could just look at that every day, that would be like the one thing I would ask people to start with today. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I think it's almost that thing of fall in love with your money for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Corin, I think it was lovely talking to you and learning more about your book and your wisdom and what you want to, give some good advice to entrepreneurs that can really help them to, like you say, make more money with your business. So I am going to share the link where you can go buy the book. So please do. You will only benefit from reading it and obviously applying what you are learning in this book. So Corin, thanks again for spending some time with us today, telling us more about your book. And then to all the viewers, thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed this talk. I hope you have learned something. Remember to go and subscribe to the channel and give us your comments. What have you learned? What are you still struggling with? We would love to hear. And then I will see you again at the next Ronel Talks Money show.